Good day, sir, and our friends. My name is Teja Singh, and my matrix number is 293635. We are from Good Night, and it is my great pleasure to start this presentation. We will discuss the contribution of Alvin H. Hansen and Paul Anthony Samuelson in developing the idea of Keynesian School. We will also discuss the Post-Keynesian and New-Keynesian School of economic thought. Now, let us step into our introduction. Firstly, we will discuss about Alvin Hansen and Paul Samuelson help move their version of Keynes' approach to economics directly into the mainstream of macroeconomics theory. Secondly, post-Keynesian economics who reject the neoclassical synthesis, and it is not only seriously flawed, but also incompatible with Keynes' own idea. Lastly, the New-Keynesian economics who reject the idea of post-Keynesian and refocus on the traditional Keynesian question of why recession occurred. Alvin Hansen is an important economist who born in Beaver, South Dakota. He received his Doctor of Philosophy in University of Wisconsin. He has teaching experience at Brown University and the University of Minnesota. His students include many of prominent economists, such as Paul Samuelson and F.C. Doma. Throughout his contribution, he emphasized some points, such as in 1937, he published business cycle theory, which earned a reputation of the nation's leading macroeconomic scholar. In 1937, he joined University Harvard, and he showed initial reaction to Keynes' famous book, The General Theory, was less enthusiastic and pointed out a mathematical error in Keynes' treatise on money. After deeper study of Keynes' system of ideas, he changed his opinion. Furthermore, he organized fiscal policy seminar which focused on Keynes' work and its policy implication in this seminar, also attended by prominent economists such as Paul Samuelson. Continued in 1941, his publication of Fiscal Policy and Business Cycle was marked. He showed his support to Keynes' analysis of the macroeconomic problem of the 1930s. Due to his opinion in supporting the idea of government intervention to promote full employment, he has been known as American Keynes. We can note that his influence is international, as thousands of graduate students use a guide to Keynes to comprehend the more esoteric section of Keynes' The General Theory. Notably, 10 of his books were translated into one or more languages, totaling 29 translations. In this session, we will discuss about Sir John Hick, who contributed in important economic model. He was born in Warwick, England, and graduated from Clifton College and Balliol College. His teaching period was conducted at London School of Economics and Political Science, Cambridge, and became professor at University of Manchester. His main contribution is Hick-Hansen ISLM model. An important article is published, Mr. Keynes and the Classic, a suggested interpretation. He pointed out that Keynes' theory of the interest rate, and therefore his theory of equilibrium income, was indeterminate. To resolve this indeterminacy, a unified economic model was developed, which synthesized the Keynesian and neoclassical perspective. Today, we refer to the Hick-Hansen synthesis as ISLM model. In the first figure, Keynes viewed that liquidity preference can determine interest rate from the intersection of money demand and money supply. The second figure concludes that interest rate can determine investment level. Investment is a part of aggregate expenditure or income. Finally, it can gain the level of national income when the element of consumption expenditure plus investment. In Hick-Hansen synthesis, Hicks noted that in the aspect of investment, it can show the level of income according to the interest rate. For example, when interest rate decrease, investment will increase because of lower cost of borrowing And finally, income level will increase. Through liquidity preference, it also presents that the interest rate can be determined according to the level of income. For example, when income level increase, people will desire to hold more money to buy goods and services. After that, interest rate will increase because less funds are available for lending, and the cost of borrowing will increase. To resolve this indeterminacy, ISLM model was created. In this part, we will discuss about IS curve and LM curve. IS curve represents potential points of equilibrium in the goods market, while LM curve represents potential points of equilibrium in the money market. Hansen and others demonstrate in ISLM model, it is important to emphasize that government spending and taxation can be easily added to analyze the interest rate and income effect of alternative fiscal and monetary policy. In this aspect, government spending is added to the level of investment spending, and tax are added to the level of saving. In the following session, we will discuss the step of deriving the IS curve. The graph A shows that by using the interest rate level at I1, we will get I1 level of investment. It is because the inverse relationship between interest rate and investment. In the graph B, it measures investment spending with 45 degrees, and it follows with a line upward from point A1 in graph A to point B1. In the graph C, we show that the Keynesian saving function. As we know, when income level increase, the level of saving also will increase. In this step, it produces point C1 and potential level of equilibrium income. In the graph D, we extend the line downward to get D1. In this stage, we can get the level of income in the goods market is Y1 at interest rate I1. Depending on the interest rate I2, we can repeat the step and get Y2, which helps us to produce IS curve by connecting D1 and D2 points. Next, we will see the step of deriving the LM curve is starting from the following relationship. When the interest rate decreases, the amount of money people desire to hold for speculative purpose, LS will increase. In the graph A, it shows that by using the interest rate level at I1, people will desire to hold LS1 for speculative purpose. In the graph B, it delivers the total money supply. The equilibrium will be get when the money supply equal to money demand. At point B1, it produces LT1 for transaction demand and LS1 by extending a line upward from point A1. In the graph C, we will gain national income of Y1, which supported by the transaction balance we get from graph B. Next, in the graph D, we extend the line downward to get point D1. In this stage, we can get the level of income in the money market is Y1 at interest rate I1. It's same with the progress in IS curve. When we use point I2, it will get Y2, which help us to produce LM curve by connecting D1 and D2. At last, when IS-LM curve intersect, we will acquire the equilibrium interest rate and level of income.
Hi Doctor and everyone, my name is Fusuchi and my metric number is 287498. And today I will going to talk about Paul Anthony Samuelson. Paul Anthony Samuelson was born in Gary, Indiana in United States, and he was born at May 15, 1915. Paul Samuelson was born in Gary, Indiana in United States on May 15, 1915. He studied his bachelor from the University of Chicago and finished his PhD in Harvard. At Harvard, Samuelson was caught up in the beginnings of the Keynesian Revolution, and Alvin Hansen was one of his professors. Samuelson is a really brilliant mathematics student, and he decided to apply mathematics to the body of economic theory. He applied mathematics theory on his doctoral dissertation, which is called The Foundation of Economic Analysis. It was published as a book in 1947. And he used mathematics to set forth and prove the major proposition in economics. After receiving his doctorate, Samuelson began searching for a university where he could teach and continue his research. But surprisingly, Harvard did not appoint him to a post, even though he had published like 11 articles. But at last, Samuelson took a position at MIT, and he was enhanced its economic reputation. In 1948, Samuelson published his introductory text, which named Economics. It demonstrated innovation in teaching basic microeconomics and also macroeconomics. Samuelson has published numerous far-reaching articles in the most prestigious economic journals, and many of these articles are highly mathematical and also measure interest only to the other experts in the field. Other than that, Samuelson, also known as the founder of modern economics, was one of the best-known American economists, both to his fellow economics and to the public at large. He was recognized by countless professionals in the field, and his textbook, Economics, was familiar to millions of people who had taken college economics. And in 1970, he was announced as the first American economist to be rewarded the Nobel Prize. So below is Samuelson articles per topic, which is consumer behavior, linear programming, capital and growth, economic methodology, history of economic theory, public expenditure economy, welfare economics, national income determination, monetary policy, and also fiscal policy. Next, I will talk about the multiplier accelerator interaction. So in year 1939, Samuelson had published 2 papers in which he identified and explored the interaction between the principle of the multiplier and accelerator. This interaction has become one of the foundations of modern business cycle theory. For multiplier, the notion was developed by Kant, and Keynes used it as a central feature of his theory. But for accelerator, this notion developed by John Maurice Clark in year 1971. He argued that the capital goods output and price fluctuation exceed those of consumer goods. Even the changes in consumer goods demand can accelerate impacts on the capital goods sector. And also, how in consumer good demand growth leads to a sharp decline in capital goods demand. Hansen was aware there was an interaction between the 2 principles and suggested to Samuelson that he can use his mathematical skills to explore the ideas. After that, Samuelson used different equations to demonstrate it. The first one is the changes in the income will rely on both MPC and the size of the accelerator coefficient. MPC determines the multiplier, while the accelerator coefficient affects investment spending change due to the income growth. Other than that, depending on multiplier and accelerator values, whether investment increase is continuous, initial autonomous investment can be result in diverse outcomes, from no lasting income increase to continuous growth. Now, I will discuss about the process of the investment and income. So, based on this, we can see that the increase in the autonomous investment will lead in increase in income through multiplier. And for the formula of the multiplier is 1 divided by MPS, or 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. And this means that if the investment changes, like for example, if the investment increase, then the effect of the Y will also increase based on the multiplier. And after that, you can see that will lead to the increases in induced investment through accelerator, and as a result, aggregate demand and income will increase, and the new Y must be bigger than the old income. So based on the bottom image of the left side, you can see that Samuelson show that it is the interaction between the multiplier and accelerator that give rise to the cyclical fluctuation in economic growth. Much of the algebra of income determination found in intermediate macroeconomic textbooks originate with Samuelson. In order to illustrate the essence of Samuelson approach, let's start with the basic Keynesian identity, which is consumption function. Y equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M, where Y stands for income, C for consumption, I for investment, G for government purchase, X for export, and M for imports. Consumption spending, tax revenues, investment spending, and all imports all increase as income rises. The ratios of their rise to the increase in income are the marginal propensity to consume, the marginal propensity to tax, the marginal propensity to invest, and the marginal propensity to import. Government expenditure and the level of export, on the other hand, are assumed to be autonomous, that is, determined independently of the level of income. An equation can be formulated for each of the independent variables in the identity. The most complicated equation is one of the for the consumption, which we derive as follows: C equal to A plus BY, where A is the amount of consumption spending that is independent of the level of income, and B is the marginal propensity to consume. And after that, at last, we will get C equals plus A plus BY minus BT now plus BTY. So the other equation needed to formulate an income determination equation are follows equation, where I na is investment that is independent of income and Z is the marginal propensity to invest. The term Z then shows the changes of the investment that occurs when income rises. This is the acceleration notion. Other equations are G na, X na, and M na. They are autonomous levels of government spending, export spending, and import spending, respectively, and M is the marginal propensity to import. By next is substituting each equation into the basic identifier and then manipulating the terms. We are able to derive the following complex income determination equation. So Y equals plus 1 divided by S plus BT plus M minus Z is the complex multiplier. The complex multiplier formula helps us to understand how changes in spending affect total income. It consists of the terms like the marginal propensity to save, the marginal propensity to consume times, the marginal propensity to tax, the marginal propensity to import, and the marginal propensity to invest. And at the back, which is at the bracket, A minus B T na plus I na plus G na plus X na minus M na is the autonomous. So to find the total equilibrium income Y, we will need to multiply the net autonomous spending by the complex multiplier. That's all from me. Thank you.
Good day, sir and everyone. My name is Chin Ying Hui. My metric number is 292604. Today, I would like to talk about the Post-Keynesian economics, a school of thought that not included in mainstream economics because it has a different methodology and economic model compared to the mainstream thinking. Mainstream economics combine Keynesian economics and neoclassical economics. This integration was possible due to contributions made by economists like Hansen and Samuelson. Some Keynesian economists rejected the neoclassical synthesis, which included the ISLM interpretation and standard microeconomics. A group of economists in Cambridge, England, including Piero Sraffa, Nicholas Caldwell, John Robinson, Luigi Pasinetti, John K. Galbraith, and Sidney Winthrop, argued that the neoclassical synthesis was flawed and inconsistent with Keynes' ideas. These economists draw inspiration from economist Michael Kalecki, who had developed a theory of total employment similar to Keynesian principles. We will discuss the five basic tenets, which is neo-Ricardian view of production, value and distribution, markup pricing, endogenous money, pronounced cyclical instability, and need for an incomes policy. The first basic tenet is neo-Ricardian view of production, value and distribution. The production and value theory of Ricardo was modernized and reconstructed by Piero Sraffa in his 1960 publication, Production of Commodities by Means of Commodities, a prelude to a critique of economic theory. The production techniques used to make a composite standard commodity made up of basic commodities in the economy determine prices and profits. It means that when companies use different methods to turn these basic things into the final products, it affects the cost of making those products. The key feature of the composite standard commodity is that changes in wages or profits affect inputs in the same proportion. It means that where there is a change in either wages or profits, it affects both inputs and also output. Sraffa pointed out that this composite standard commodity is what Ricardo was talking about when he mentioned an invariable measure of value or relative prices. John Robinson and other post-Keynesians expanded Sraffa's unconventional theme. John Robinson said that it is desirable and possible for society to control the distribution of income. They also said that the actual distribution of income between wages and profits will depend on the class struggle, on public policies after the distribution, and on the rate of investment. This can be done through the socialization of investment, public ownership of the means of production, or income policies, which is government policies to control wages and prices. John Robinson called herself left-wing Keynesians. Robinson believed these policies are firmly rooted in the proper interpretation of book called the general theory. The second one is markup pricing. Oligopolistic corporations set the price and finance investment from retained profits. Oligopolies set the prices above current costs to achieve their desired levels of profit, and investment plans, which set the price above the AC curve. Prices do not reflect current demand, rather the funds required for planned investment expenditure to meet the future demand. When costs increase, firms increase the prices to maintain their markup over the cost, ensuring they continue to earn profits and cover their expenses in the future.
Good day, everyone. My name is Alvin H and my metric number is 293532. Third of the basic tenet is endogenous money. Post-Keynesians regard that the stock of money as being essentially endogenous to the economy, changing in response to change in the level of wages. Post-Keynesians believe that the amount of money in the economy is not set by a central bank, but is created by the economy itself. As business and people need more money to pay for goods and service, wages, or business expansions, they borrow from banks, and the money supply is increased by this borrowing. In simple terms, as the economy expands and requires more money to run, the money supply grows and swells. Besides that, inflation arises from the fight over the share of the distribution of income. In this view, inflation occurs when there is an argument about income distributions. If employees demand higher wages, business must raise price to cover their costs. This increasing price increases everyone's cost, causing a cycle of wages and price increase that cause inflation. In the end, business needs to more money to cover costs and cost money supply increase. Next basic tendency is prono-cyclical instability. The economy is seen as inherently unstable. Business people can be optimistic at times, leading to investment more than necessary to maintain consistent growth. This will cause economic increase and unemployment rate decrease. But they can also become pessimistic, leading to investment less than necessary to maintain consistent growth. Economic slowdown and unemployment rate increase. Last basic statement is need for an income policy. To manage inflation and economic instability, Post-Keynesians suggest an income policy by limiting how much wages and prices can increase each year based on the economic growth. Firstly, the income policy helps hold down inflation by limiting wage increase to the growth rate of productivity, thus preventing a wage price spiral. Secondly, it minimizes the redistribution of income, not inflation. This is resulting from inflation by stabilizing real income, preventing a wage price spiral, and promoting fairness. This approach helps protect vulnerable groups from the adverse effects of inflation, ensuring a more stable and equitable economic environment. Lastly, is avoid the loss of output associated with anti-inflationary fiscal and monetary policy. Conventional anti-inflationary measures like tight fiscal and monetary policy can dampen economic growth and lead to job losses. An income policy aims to control inflation without this negative effect, maintaining a stable level of economic activity. Therefore, the economists that agree with the post-Keynesian perspective agree that inflation cannot control through conventional instruments of fiscal and monetary policy. Post-Keynesians argue that inflation is not always caused by excess demand, but rather by a deeper conflict over income distribution. Policy aims solely at reducing demand may exacerbate the conflict by reducing the amount of income available for distribution, potentially leading to more instant stresses and inflationary pressures. Lastly, post-Keynesian is heterodox economics. Heterodox economics refer to a group of economic theory and approach that challenge or differ from traditional or mainstream economics, which is often based on neoclassical and Keynesian ideas. Mainstream economics focus on market equilibrium, rational choice, and mathematical modeling, while heterodox economics embrace a broader set of perspectives and methodologies. Thus, post-Keynesian has many weaknesses in terms of methodology. Because post-Keynesian are different from the mainstream thinking, so become complex in real world of their analysis. And they lack of a unified economics model and some policy are difficult to implement.
My name is Tan Hui and my number metric is 293438. Now, I would like to present about the New-Keynesian economy. The New-Keynesian reject the neo-Ricardian value theory of the Post-Keynesian. They also reject the Post-Keynesian call for income policy, citing the resources misallocation resulting from this policy and the poor historical success of wage and price control in reducing inflation. Modern Keynesian macroeconomists has pursued a narrow line of inquiry than the post-Keynesian. The new Keynesian theory has refocused attention on the traditional Keynesian questions on why recession occur. Their answer is decrease in aggregate demands produce decrease in real output and corresponding increase in unemployment because the price level and the nominal wage are inflexible downwards. Now, I would like to discuss the importance of the downward price and wage stickiness. Suppose price and nominal wage are perfectly flexible. Initial equivalence is at point A when AD1 intersect with AS1. If aggregate demand decrease from AD1 to AD2 while aggregate supply remain at AS1, the price level decrease from P1 at point A to P2 at point B. Real output temporarily will fall from full employment level QF to less than full employment output Q1. This enables producers to reduce nominal wage to keep the real wage unchanged. The aggregate supply curve will shift rightward from AS1 to the broken line AS2. At intersection point C of AD2 and AS2, real output return to full employment level QF and the recession automatically will end. This process aligns with the classical and new classical viewpoint, suggesting that the economy is self-correcting without the need of government stabilization policy. However, according to the new Keynesian economies, price and nominal wage are inflexible downward. Instead of moving the economy quickly from A to B to C, a decrease in aggregate demand from AD1 to AD2 will move the economy from A to D, and real output will fall from QF to Q2. Because wages are inflexible downward, the employment associated with real output Q2 will proceed until AD return to AD1. So, New Keynesian urged that active fiscal policy and monetary policy may be necessary to shift the aggregate demand back to AD1 and restore full employment QF. These six New Keynesian economies has proposed several explanations for downward price and wage rigidity. Now, I would like to present about the four reasons that create downward inflexibility in price and wages. The first reason is manual cost. The second reason is formal and implicit contract. The third reason is efficiency wages. And the last reason is insider-outsider theory.
I'm Onion Wei, metric number 292570. Now I'm going to explain the first reason, menu costs. Menu costs are the costs associated with changing the price of goods and services. That means they describe the expenses that businesses have to bear when they adjust their price in response to change in the market. In oligopolistic industry, firms must be concerned that the unilateral price reduction could trigger more aggressive price reduction by competitors. Price may remain unchanged for a time, leading to reduced output and employment. In because when they reduce the output and employment, their costs will reduce too. So they can remain the price to make sure that their profit is remain higher. For example, a restaurant should not change its price until the price change will result in sufficient additional revenue to cover the cost of printing new menus. The second reason is formal and implicit contracts. Formal contracts, also known as long-term contracts. Unions often sign long-term contracts containing built-in nominal wages increases. During unexpected decline in aggregate demand, it causes firms to lay off instead of reducing wages of contracts to reduce the cost. When contracts are renegotiated with unions typically vigorously resist wages kickbacks. The implicit contracts is non-union workers operate under informal agreements. Firms will maintain existing nominal wages during period of slack product demand. As aggregate demand decreases, firms are reluctant to reduce wages, leading to increased unemployment rate during recessions. So, firms will lay off the contracts for the long-term contracts and will reduce the wages for the implicit contracts. The third reason is efficiency wages. Efficiency wages is an above-market clearing wages that minimize an employer wages costs per effective unit of labor service employed. There are four reasons why we need to pay high wages. The first one is increased job value for workers. The second one is increased cost of living or being fired. The third one is reduced shrinking and turnover. And the fourth one is boosting their productivity. Pay for the higher wages is one of the motivation to let the worker more efficiency in the work. The firm paying efficiency wages during economic downturns, it will cause reluctant to cut wages. When the wages cut lead to increasing in shaping and job waste, it will cause the productivity of the work decrease and also the labor cost increase because they need to hire more workers. So the efficiency wages may contribute to downwards wages flexibility and cyclical unemployment. The last reason is insider-outsider theory. Insiders are employed workers who possess some market power. Outsiders are the employer who are unable or unwilling to underbid existing wages paid to gain employment. The reason for this disparity is the firm incur labor turnover costs when they replace insiders with outsiders. The firm's output and profit also will suffer. In conclusion, Alvin Hansen and Paul Samuelson helped move their version of Keynes' approach to economics directly into the mainstream of macroeconomic theory. Hicks correctly noted the Keynes liquidity preference schedule itself depends on the level of national income. Hicks-Hansen synthesis ISLM model solved this problem. Paul A. Samuelson identified and explored the interaction between the principle of multiplier and accelerator. However, economists from Post-Keynesians did not accept the neoclassical synthesis. They denied both the ISLM interpretation of Keynes and standard microeconomics. The New-Keynesians, on the other hand, rejected the neo-Ricardian value theory of the Post-Keynesians, and they called for income policies. Instead, they pursued a narrow line of inquiry by focusing their attention on traditional Keynesian question of why recessions occur. According to them, decline in aggregate demand produces decline in the real output and corresponding increase in unemployment because the price level and nominal wages are inflexible downwards. Among factors contribute to downwards price and wages rigidity. According to them, are many costs, formal and implicit contracts, efficiency wages, and inside the outsider theory. Thank you.